Yo, what's up guys? It's Noah here, and in today's video, going to be talking through the NBA slate on Draftkings and Yahoo for Tuesday, May the 3rd. We do have once again another two-game slate for Tuesday, and we have Game 2 of Milwaukee and Boston. We have Game 2 of Golden State and Memphis. So as always, guys, we're going to talk through each one of these two games, kind of give my early thoughts on this slate, what I like, taking a first look at this slate on a Monday night. And then as we do go through each game, as always, we will build out an early core. We'll talk about 5 players I like on both Draftkings and on Yahoo. Now, as always, before we get started with the breakdown, make sure you guys hit that like button down below. I do always appreciate the likes, and if you're new to the channel, you have not yet, hit that subscribe button as well. I do upload these, NBA videos daily, and I'm going to try and upload pretty much every single day throughout the playoffs while we still have, 2-game slates. Once we get to a point where it's just one game a day, I don't know if I'm going to cover Showdown. We'll have to see. Probably when the finals come, I'll probably cover the Showdown slates for the finals. Don't know yet about, later in the playoffs, but while we do have 2 games every day, I do plan on covering these 2-game slates every day. I'm kind of giving my thoughts. So appreciate you guys checking out these videos. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Also, if you're new and you have not yet, go check out PrizePicks, the sponsor of this video. So PrizePicks is a player prop based DFS site, very simple, very easy to use. A little bit different than DraftKings and FanDuel. You're not necessarily building out a lineup and competing against other players. You're just playing their projections. So they have their projections posted for most of the players. They do have a lot up on the board already for Tuesday's games, and you're just picking over or under. You have to make your selections, one way or the other. If you have a lean one way or the other, you make 2 picks, or you can make up to 5 picks, and you can win up to 10 extra money on PrizePicks. It's a lot of fun. I know a lot of you guys already play over there. I've obviously been playing on PrizePicks a ton since I partnered with them. So far in the playoffs, I've really been having a lot of volume in play on PrizePicks every day. So give them a try. Sign up over there. Use code NOAH when you do. When you sign up with my promo code, PrizePicks will match your first deposit up to $100. And as always, huge shout out to them for sponsoring these videos, for supporting my channel. Greatly appreciate PrizePicks. For sure, if you guys have not yet, go head over there and sign up with that promo code. But we'll start off with the first game of the night. We'll break down the slate. Start off with Milwaukee and Boston. So looking at the Bucks today, you obviously have Giannis and Drew, who continue to benefit without Chris Middleton. Giannis' first game in the series was pretty good. I mean, Boston, excuse me. They're a very good defensive team, but Giannis was able to kind of have his way. He didn't shoot the ball that well, only had 24 points, but he did rack up the peripherals. He had 13 points and 13 rebounds and 12 assists. He had a triple double, had 64 DraftKings points in 38 minutes. I mean, Giannis is going to play like 36 to 40 minutes, and it's a 2-game slate. Like, obviously, Giannis is in play today. I will say there are other studs you can pay up for. You do have John Morant on the slate. You have Jason Tatum. You have Steph Curry. I don't think Giannis is like a guy you have to build around, but I mean, it's a freaking 2-game slate. Of course, you can play Giannis today. Wouldn't say that he's my favorite stud overall. Then you have Drew Holiday at 8,300, who finally had a big game last game. Since Middleton has been out, Drew has kind of been a little bit underwhelming. Like, we haven't really seen a ton of huge games from him. He had that game against Chicago where he went for 42 DK points in 37 minutes. But first game of the series, he had a big game. He took 20 shots, which is good to see. He was really aggressive offensively, had 9 rebounds, 5 assists to go along with 25 points, finished with 50 DraftKings points. Like, that's the kind of upside that Drew has when Middleton's out. Middleton being out is a big bump for Drew. He gets a big bump in usage. And obviously, we should expect Giannis and Drew to really dominate the usage, in this series with Middleton out. So I think Drew is, definitely in play today. Obviously, even in a tougher matchup against Boston, I think the upside's there, especially with the minutes he's going to play. Then you got Bobby Portis at 6,300. Feels priced about right, but obviously Bobby Portis has a ceiling as well. So far, since he started in place of Middleton, I'm pretty sure, he's had a double-double in every game that he has started. Last 4 games have all been without Middleton. 41, 28, 37, and 34 DraftKings points. Probably plays like 30 to 32 minutes at 6,300. Again, I think Bobby Portis priced about right, but definitely in play for me. I have no issue going there. Then you have Brook Lopez, who's been a little bit underwhelming. Last game he did have a little bit of an outlier, 10 rebounds, but only had 6 points. Did have 3 blocks. I mean, since Bobby Portis has been inserted into the starting lineup, I think that really has kind of hurt Brook Lopez. It's hurt his usage. He's just not getting a ton of shots up. His rebounds are not going to be that good. Portis is a guy that can soak up a lot of rebounds, so I'm just not that high on Brook Lopez. I don't see a ton of interest in him or see myself really going there. Then you got the 2 value plays who continue to be viable in Grayson Allen and Pat Connaughton. Grayson Allen off the bench last game, played 29 minutes, wasn't super productive, only had 22 DK points, but he's fairly cheap, should continue to play close to 30 minutes a night, and at 4,700, I have no issue going there. And then Pat Connaughton, I did like quite a bit last slate. He didn't play as much as I thought. He did get into some foul trouble, only played 21 minutes, did have 4 fouls in those 21 minutes. I think most nights we're going to get like 25, 26 minutes from Pat Connaughton. I felt like, last game was kind of his floor for minutes. So at 3,800, like if you're looking for a punt play, there really aren't many value plays on these playoff slates. So if you want to go to Pat Connaughton again, even though he was kind of disappointing last game, I'm still fine going there. We know Connaughton, he can score, he can shoot threes, he can grab rebounds. He has a path to 25, 26 DK points, and if he gets that, that's probably going to be good enough at his salary. But that's it for Milwaukee. Let's talk about Boston now. So looking at the Celtics here, do have to watch the status of Marcus Smart. Pretty big injury. Marcus Smart did suffer an injury last game, but he was able to play through it. I think it was like maybe it was a shoulder injury and then like a quad injury. He's been banged up lately. Clearly he's coming into this game a little bit banged up. But he's a guy that usually kind of plays through injuries, and obviously with it being the playoffs, I mean, these guys are going to tough it out if they can. So I would expect Marcus Smart to play, but, keep an eye on that. If Marcus Smart does get ruled out, that would definitely benefit, Derek White, who would probably be the guy that I would really want to target first. I'd assume Derek White would move into the starting lineup, would be a really good value play. Maybe Peyton Pritchard would play a little bit more, but yeah, if Smart sits, for sure going to really be high on Derek White for sure. And then, looking at the other guys, so you have Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. On this slate, I don't have an issue going to either one. Both were kind of disappointing last game. I mean, Boston as a whole kind of underperformed. They lost by 12. They only scored 89 points. It was a really low-scoring game. Tatum still did play 40 minutes, and I think if this game's close, Tatum's going to probably play 40-plus minutes. He was playing huge minutes in that Brooklyn series, and especially with them already being down a game, they're really going to need Tatum, even more here. Obviously, if Boston loses both of these home games, that's going to be bad for them. Then they're going to have to go travel to Milwaukee down 0-2. I mean, that's not going to be good. So definitely Boston's going to be going all out to win this game. This is a game, they kind of need to get. I expect Tatum to play huge minutes. He's for sure in play. I just think I would rather go to John Morant, who we're going to talk about later. I kind of like Steph again. If I could get to Giannis, I think I'd get to Giannis as well. But no issues with Tatum today. Jaylen Brown, I mean, he was coming into last game a little banged up. He was dealing with, or he was on the injury report, I think, the previous game, or maybe not. I can't remember. But I know he was, he had something going on with his hamstring, but he played 38 minutes last game, so I don't think he was like too hobbled by it. He wasn't super productive though, only had 31 DK points in those 38 minutes. He wasn't super aggressive offensively either. He only took 13 shots. At 7,700, like I think Jaylen Brown is in play on a 2-game slate, but I'm not like super excited about him right now. He's not a guy that I'm really running to roster. Marcus Smart, if he does play, I mean, I guess he's going to be good to go. If he's playing, I'm assuming he's going to play his full minutes unless we hear otherwise. So if Smart is able to play, he probably gets like 35, 36 minutes. That's what he's been playing pretty much every night in the playoffs. And he was another guy that kind of disappointed last slate. But when Marcus Smart's playing 36, 37, 38 minutes, he has a path to 35, 40 DK points. We saw him go over 40 DK points twice in that Brooklyn series. Obviously, this is a different matchup against Milwaukee, but I still think Marcus Smart is in play today if he's able to go. Al Horford, he was actually pretty good last game. I was kind of surprised. He played 36 minutes, had 37 DK points. Since Robert Williams has returned, Al Horford, his production has not been nearly as good, but I think they really need his defense out there against Giannis. He's kind of the primary defender on Giannis, and he's done a decent job at slowing down Giannis ever since they have played when they've matched up. So Horford probably gets good minutes once again. He's in play, but I'm not like super excited about him at 5,800. Robert Williams is a guy, though, that I do like a lot. So he's only 4,900 on Draftkings. I mean, I think this is just way too cheap for Robert Williams. I know last game he only played 22 minutes, but they did say that he was not on a minutes limit last game, and he obviously started last game as well. He did pick up 4 fouls in 22 minutes. I don't remember if he lost minutes because of the foul trouble. He might have. Regardless, I think we're getting like 25, 30 minutes from Robert Williams, and we know he is a good point-per-minute player. He can score. He can rebound. He's a great he's a guy that can get a ton of defensive stats. He's a great shot blocker. Obviously, last game had 3 blocks and a steal in only 22 minutes. If Robert Williams is playing 25, 30 minutes at 4,900, like he's probably one of the better plays on this slate. I had a lot of interest in Robert Williams last slate. Once it was announced he was starting and not limited, and I know he kind of had a disappointing game. I'm fine going right back to him. The price tag is way too cheap at 4,900, so really like Robert Williams on DraftKings. He's not as cheap on Yahoo, so I don't really like him as much over there. But at this DK price tag, I think he's a really good play today. And that's probably it for Boston. Just, lastly, again, if Marcus Smart does sit, if he gets ruled out, that would really benefit Derek White. And Derek White would obviously be a very strong value play if, Smart were to be out. But let's move on to the next game, talk about Golden State and Memphis. So Golden State, starting off with Steph at the top. Coming in at 9,100, obviously Steph was another guy that was kind of disappointing last slate, but I don't care. Like, I'm fine going right back to Steph here. He played 37 minutes last game. He did pick up 5 fouls in those 37 minutes, but I don't think he really lost minutes for foul trouble. Like, I think he pretty much played his normal minutes. Maybe he missed like 1 or 2 minutes, but I think if this game's close, we're getting like 40 minutes from Steph, 38, 40 minutes. In these playoff slates, I really like to play guys after they have a bad game because a lot of times you will see ownership kind of flock to players. Like, if a player has a bad game, usually they're going to be lower owned on the next slate, especially if their price tag doesn't move. And if a player has if a player has a bad game, then like nobody's going to play him. So recency bias is something that people really that gets weighed heavily a lot more in the playoffs just because it is the same matchup again. So I think Steph's going to be lower owned today. I think at 9,100, he is someone I do have interest in tournaments. Clay at 7K, he's coming into this game probable, should be good to go. He's okay. I mean, Clay is someone I really haven't played much at all in the playoffs this year. His price tag has just made him like not that appealing. He has a path to upside. If he gets hot from 3, we know he's a great shooter, but 7K doesn't make Clay really stand out. We'll say Jordan Poole. Jordan Poole is someone that I expect will get increased ownership today because he's coming off a huge game. Played 38 minutes off the bench last game, put up 59 Draftkings points. Jordan Poole did come off the bench. They did start Gary Payton over Jordan Poole last game, but then Jordan Poole started the second half over Gary Payton. So not exactly sure what the Warriors are doing today, if they're going to go back to Jordan Poole starting or if they're going to start Gary Payton again. I'm guessing they're going to start Gary Payton again, so we'll talk about him in a second. Does that really impact Jordan Poole much at all? I don't think so. Like, I think Jordan Poole's going to get big minutes regardless of if he starts or comes off the bench. But I will mention he did have such a great game last game that I think his ownership will be a lot higher today. Is Jordan Poole a bad play? I don't think he's a bad play at all because obviously the upside's there. He's a great scorer. The 8 rebounds, 9 assists, I mean, that's a little bit fluky. Like, I don't think we can expect that to happen again, but we know the guy can get hot from 3. He's a great scorer. He's for sure in play. I would just be a little bit cautious. I think his ownership might be a little bit higher than it probably should be, especially just because he had such a great game last game. Then you got Draymond at 6,500, who obviously, got ejected last game on that stupid call. Look, Draymond was smashing. He had 21 Draftkings points, right before halftime. He was on pace for like 45 DK points, and then, he gets ejected. I like Draymond once again. Like, he got ejected last game. Who cares? It's a new game today. I know there was some, Draymond was like kind of mocking Brandon Clark, whatever Brandon Clark said like post game about Draymond was like laughing at it. I saw he put like an Instagram post up. So maybe Draymond's coming into this game a little bit angry just because he got ejected and because of what Brandon Clark said after the game. Who cares? At 6,500, I think Draymond is definitely in play today. As long as he doesn't get ejected again, or as long as he doesn't get in foul trouble, he should play about 36, 38 minutes. He's got upside. We know he can do everything when he's on the floor, can score, can rebound, can get assists, can get defensive stats. And, in those 17 minutes, typical Draymond stat line: 6 points, 4 rebounds, 3 assists, a block, and 3 steals. Like, that's what he does when he's on the floor. So I think Draymond is for sure in play today. I do want to talk about him on Yahoo, though, because on Yahoo, he is very, very affordable. He's only $23. He's only $1 more than Al Horford. I really like Draymond at that Yahoo salary. He for sure stood out to me on Yahoo at that price tag. And then you got Andrew Wiggins at 5,700, who's a fine play. Like, I'm not super excited about Andrew Wiggins today, but he's playable. I mean, he probably gets like 34, 35 minutes. He feels like a safe option. He's probably going to get you like 25, 30 Draftkings points, but he's one of these guys that I do kind of question the ceiling on him. And then for value, I want to talk about Gary Payton. So Gary Payton's only 3,500. He did start last game in place of Jordan Poole. Obviously, he came off the bench in the second half because they started Jordan Poole over him in the second half. So not sure what we're going to get here with Golden State starting lineup. I think they're going to start Payton again, but we'll just kind of have to keep an eye on it. They do want Payton out there for defense. He's a guy that can defend, and he kind of was the primary defender on Ja when he was on the floor. He played 23 minutes. He picked up 4 fouls in 23 minutes. I know he did get into some early foul trouble and kind of saw his minutes get cut a little bit because of that. Regardless, I think we're getting like mid-20s minutes from Payton. If he starts, I think he could play high 20s. If he comes off the bench, then maybe he plays like low 20s. But I think the range of minutes for Payton is kind of somewhere between like 20 to 28, somewhere in that range. If he starts, I think you kind of get more towards the upper tier, the upper part of his range. If he comes off the bench, then maybe it's towards the bottom. But at 3,500, with how few value plays there are on this slate, especially if he does start, I think Gary Payton is one of the better values today. There's just not many guys this cheap that are even playable, and I think Gary Payton will definitely be in play if he's starting again. So At 3,500, I do like him quite a bit today, and he is minimum salary, very cheap on Yahoo, $10 over there. I think he stands out as a pretty good punt play, assuming that he does start again. And even if he comes off the bench, I wouldn't be too worried. I still think he would be in play. But that's it for Golden State. Let's talk about the other side now with Memphis. So looking at the Grizzlies, you got Ja Morant at the top for 10,100. I would say that Ja's probably my favorite pay-up option on this slate. I didn't have as much interest in Ja last slate, but things are a little bit different today. Just, kind of roster construction's a little bit different. We have some value with Gary Payton, that we just talked about. This is basically, I'm kind of, contradicting myself because I did say, Jordan Poole's probably going to be overowned because he went off last game. Maybe Ja's a little bit overowned today because he had 68 DraftKings points last game, but the minutes were massive for Ja. He played 38 minutes. He took 31 shots. His usage was great, had 9 rebounds and 10 assists. I really think Ja's going to, kind of take over in the playoffs. I think this is kind of like his time to perform, to shine. I mean, if Memphis wants to, win this series, they're already down 0-1. If they want to win this series, it's going to have to be because most likely Ja is, just kind of putting up huge games every night. And I know he kind of really struggled in that Minnesota series, but he looked great in that first game against Golden State. Golden State, they didn't really slow down Ja much at all. He shot the ball a ton. He was aggressive. He was driving to the basket. He was, getting fouled, or I don't think he got fouled a ton, but, he was driving to the basket, just looking like his old self. So I think if we're getting 38, 40 minutes from Ja, at 10-1, he might be my favorite pay-up option on the slate. Obviously, on a 2-game slate, you can't go wrong with any of these guys. Giannis, Ja, Tatum, Curry, all those guys are in play, but you kind of have to pick your favorites. And I think right now, Ja is probably my favorite. So at 10-1 on DraftKings, I like him a lot as a pay-up option. On Yahoo at $45, I think he is my favorite pay-up option over there. But I will mention that the Steph Curry, pretty affordable on Yahoo, $38. I obviously like Steph quite a bit there. But definitely think Ja's a good pay-up option today. Do want to mention that Desmond Bane is questionable. Again, it's the playoffs. I would expect these guys to play, but this is worth noting because Bane hasn't been on the injury report, I don't think, at all this postseason. I don't know when the injury occurred last game, but he's questionable with a sore lower back. Again, I expect him to play, but if he doesn't play, if Desmond Bane doesn't play, that probably opens up more minutes for guys like D'Anthony Melton, Tyus Jones. Maybe John Conchar plays more, but we did see D'Anthony Melton play a lot off the bench last game. We'll talk about him in a second. But Bane, if he does play, he's one of these guys I kind of like going back to. Obviously, last game he was very disappointing. Only had 15 DraftKings points in 32 minutes. He was really good in that Minnesota series, was playing huge minutes every night. Didn't look great in the first game against Golden State, but again, we know the upside Desmond Bane has. We know he's a great shooter. He can get hot from the field. He should play big minutes if it's a close game. He only played 32 last game, but I think in the playoffs we should expect Bane to play 36 to 40 minutes. So I'm fine going back to Desmond Bane, even though he did bust last slate. And then Triple J. So Triple J is a guy that I've been very high on just throughout the playoffs, and I know in that Minnesota series he was in foul trouble every single game, was constantly a disappointment. Well, the last 2 games in that game 6 against Minnesota and then first game of the series, Triple J has managed to stay out of foul trouble in back-to-back games, and you've seen the upside. 45 DraftKings points, 52 DraftKings points. Now, do I expect Triple J to shoot 6 for 9 from 3 again? Probably not, but we know this is someone that can produce when he gets minutes. He can score, he can rebound, he can block shots. It's just the foul trouble that's always a concern with him. I think in this matchup against Golden State, I talked about it in my video on Sunday. I think this matchup is one where Triple J should be able to avoid foul trouble because he's not really going to have to be guarding aggressive offensive players. He's probably going to guard Andrew Wiggins or Draymond. Neither one of those guys you worry about drawing fouls against you. So I think Triple J should be able to stay out of foul trouble most of the series, I hope. And if he does, we know the upside's there, and the price tag really it hasn't moved at all. So I definitely like Jaren Jackson Jr. once again. He's a little bit more expensive on Yahoo, but I think he's a fine player over there, $27. On Yahoo you get 3 points for blocks and steals, so that stock's upside, it's always there for Triple J. He's a guy that I like quite a bit today. And then Brandon Clark, another guy I like a lot. So Brandon Clark has obviously been great for Memphis so far in the playoffs, and especially in that Minnesota series. Coming off the bench, his minutes have still been really good. 29, 37, 33, and then 31 minutes last game. He'll probably play 30 to 32 minutes here. I honestly, I don't know why the Grizzlies are even starting Xavier Tillman at this point. Just start Brandon Clark or start some other guy and let Jaren Jackson Jr. play the 5. I don't know why they insist on playing Xavier Tillman 15 minutes every game. But regardless, we should get 30, 32 minutes from Brandon Clark. He's been a great point per minute player when he's gotten opportunity, when he's gotten minutes. He averages around a fantasy point per minute. matchup against Golden State, going up against Draymond, that's not the best spot, but Clark is just one of these guys that he's going to produce when he's on the court. Like, matchup is something I don't worry too much about Clark, just because he's always going to be around the rim to grab boards. He can get putbacks. He can get defensive stats. And at 6K, when he's playing 30, 32 minutes a night, he's got the upside to pay off this price tag. So I like Brandon Clark as well at 6K. I think he's a very strong option today. For sure, one of my favorite center plays on Yahoo, $21. I like him a ton over there. And then some of these other Memphis guys, so like Dylan Brooks was very disappointing last slate, played 30 minutes. He had 5 fouls. I think he was in a little bit of foul trouble. Look, Brooks is one of these guys. He's been a super tough player to predict. Like, you never know what you're getting from Dylan Brooks. He was great in that game 6 against Minnesota, and then last game, he shot 3 for 13. He's going to probably shoot when he's on the floor. We know he's a guy that's not afraid to take shots. He's not a super productive point per minute player, but at 5,500, he's going to get like 32 to 34 minutes most likely, and he's playable at this salary. Even though he busted last game, like, I'd be fine going back to Dylan Brooks. And then like the value guard, so I want to talk about D'Anthony Melton. He was kind of a big key piece for them off the bench. He played 25 minutes kind of out of nowhere. Like, I don't think really anyone expected him to play that much because he really wasn't playing many minutes at all in the Minnesota series. But he played 25 minutes off the bench last game. Does that continue? Like, I really don't know. Melton is a guy that, like, we just haven't seen. We haven't seen him play consistent minutes. He only played in 4 of the 6 games in that Minnesota series. Like, I think games 5 and 6, he wasn't even in the rotation. So we really don't know. I think Melton is a little bit of a risky play, but if he does somehow play 25 minutes again, I mean, he's got upside and for sure would be in play. I have no confidence that he plays 25 minutes again. Tyus Jones, I mean, he's going to play probably 15 to 20 minutes. He saw his minutes cut a little bit. Like, maybe one of the reasons Melton played so much was just because Jones didn't play as much. Jones has kind of been that backup guard that's been getting a lot of run. Well, obviously last game it was Melton. Like, I could see today I could see D'Anthony Melton playing 12 minutes and Tyus Jones playing 25 and it just being reversed. So Tyus Jones is a viable punt play, but he's not someone that I'm like super excited about. Obviously, if by some chance Desmond Bane sits, these guys look a lot more appealing, but for now I'm expecting Bane to play. And yeah, that's it. Like, Kyle Anderson, I mean, not really going to go there. Not much interest. Tillman, even though he starts, he's going to play like 15 minutes at the most, and he's not really playable. So that's it for Memphis, and that's it for this 2-game Tuesday night slate. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. As always, I appreciate you watching. Make sure you hit that like button down below before you do get out of here. Hit that subscribe button as well. Also, check out PrizePicks, the sponsor of this video. Again, you can sign up for PrizePicks. You can use my promo code NOAH. PrizePicks will match your first deposit up to $100 when you do sign up with my promo code. Be sure to get over there, sign up if you have not yet. PrizePicks, as always, appreciate them sponsoring these videos. But yeah, guys, best of luck tonight. Thanks for watching the video. I hope you did enjoy, and we will see you in the next one. Peace.